And so she has a very strong connection to Eric's Club, and that's why we're delighted to have her this morning as our moderator. And she's interested in continuing in this field with restaurants and food and beverage, and everybody needs a big dream. And she's got a big dream. She wants to do event planning for the Olympics. Now that's a big dream, and I got a hunch one day she's going to get there. So I'm going to turn it over to Victoria. Knock 'em down.
It's not.
Hello? Oh. Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? Good. Okay. So, when we think of words like sports, music, hobbies, and celebration, there is one common factor. They bring people together. Whether it be the Olympics that bring people together from all over the world to showcase each country's best athletes, or finally getting to see your favorite artists perform live, this is what mega event tourism is all about. Your city becomes on the short list that people can go to experience a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is what we'll be exploring in today's panel, and I'm so excited to be joined by Professor Kenyon, Kelly, and Robert. Their experience is second to none with mega events, and I think today you'll really get to explore that with their experience. Let's dive in, shall we? So, Erin, can you help us define what a mega event is, and then what are some really great examples of what a mega event is, and can you tell us how they kind of changed over time?
Okay, let's see if I can remember all that. First of all, basically what a mega event is, it's bringing notoriety to the city. It brings in a ton of money, publicity. It's usually millions and millions of visitors, those kind of things. Some examples are Olympics, which is actually going to be here in the United States in 2028. FIFA, which is going to be here this summer. And as Victoria and I were doing our research for this, we discovered that apparently major concerts like Beyonce and Taylor Swift are now becoming mega events because it brings thousands of dollars not only to the city but as well as visitors. Did I answer all that?
How have they changed?
Oh, how have they changed? Well, I can tell you the big one is concerts did not used to be part of mega events. But I would think probably just, and I'm going to defer these over to my two others and later on because I know you have some questions with that. I would say how the city really prepares for them. And I know we'll get into a lot more of that with some of your other questions. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that because there's definitely some things that cities have to do now that are imperative for the safety of the visitors.
Anything to add, anybody else?
Only to say the first and most evident one is security and safety. The idea that you would have an active shooter, that you would have a plan for an active shooter, wasn't something you did 10 years ago, but now you don't think about having any scale of event without talking about safety and security for something like that. And I think we had previously, having been in this position, thought the more the better, discarding the experience, because just because you have a lot of people and a big event doesn't mean you come out the other side with a better reputation unless you manage that the whole way through.
I would just add the cost of doing one of these events, very, very, very expensive. And so you better get that return on your investment because not every community can do something like this. And those communities that can are going to be spending hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes to put on an event like this.
So, the coordination it takes to make these large-scale events successful often leaves some things forgotten, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, Kelly. So, what have you seen that is often forgotten and has prevented the event from running smoothly?
Well, in first experience traffic, usually for big events, people will arrive in a staggered manner. Maybe they came for a pregame or a pre-event, maybe they dined in the area, but then when it's over, everybody's leaving at the same time. And you used to have to organize transport for that and have transport for that. Now, fortunately, there's the platforms that can provide part of that, and I think there was a learning curve where we all discovered we had to have parking lots for that evolving piece. And then I think the other piece that really evolved and we were surprised about was people not booking the room blocks that had been assigned and going into short-term rentals or into sharing of houses and stuff. And I think there was a moment where we all tried to figure out how do we continue to leverage that opportunity.
I agree, because, people book these hotels, if you will, and a lot of them are giving money back to the organization. And so that's how they pay for some of the events that they're doing here. So if they're not using the blocks in the hotels, then they're not getting the money they need to support their events. And so it's a big deal sometimes, especially in larger cities, if they have other options like B&Bs, Vrbo, and everything else, they'll lose money. And our blocks will go unfulfilled, and maybe will sell out because of transient demand and other things, but they need to use their blocks, and that's a big deal in our industry right now. We're actually cutting back blocks a lot of times. We're not using as many rooms. We're pulling back because of the history of the organization, and that's challenging for them because they think to make more money they got to grow, so they have more rooms, and so it's a catch-22 many times.
You just mentioned investment that these cities and even hotels and restaurants make when they know that a big event is coming to their city. Can you guys walk us through what the process of what it looks like for a city to be selected for one of these events, from the initial pitches to being awarded?
Well, it's very, very competitive, okay? So folks, if you're going to get one of these events, it starts 4, 5, 6 years out, right? And it takes a lot of persuasion. It's a lot of I personally believe, personal relationships to convince somebody to look at your facilities, to look at your destination, to look at the stadiums, whatever they are using for your events. Because, candidly, there's a lot of them out there right now. And everybody knows that these events can translate into, for example, San Antonio just hosted the Final Four. And the city invested roughly $100 million because they had to improve facilities, they had to do some stuff to make the NCAA happy. But the outcome right now has been measured at $600 million return on investment to date. And they're still trying to figure out because it just was that recent. We hosted an event called IPW, which is an international event that brings tour travel wholesalers to destinations. San Antonio invested $600,000 on that event, and currently our city is saying we've gained $600 million from that investment. So that's a $1 you get $100 million. It's 100,000. Thank you for each dollar we invested.
Can I underscore something like that? And I think it's important for people to understand who's making the investment in most of these cases is the city or the visit, the CVB. They take the tax money that the hotels have hopefully earned off the room blocks. So if they don't make the room blocks, they're not making the investment back. So they take money out, they compete. LA will compete against Houston and New York and Miami, and for certain events, you know what cities they can go into because they can accommodate it or they have the budget to do that. So then when they roll it out, it's just like doing what they call a familiarization trip or a fam trip. They'll come to your destination and you better have the mayor out, you have the president of the hotel association, you have the president of the chamber there. You roll out the red carpet and talk about unreasonable hospitality. You've got shots chase galore. You served on some of those committees, right?
I did in San Antonio. I also did in Miami and Dallas as well. And it's big business, like she said. It's entertainment. It's about convincing a group of people, typically, that your destination is the best location. And typically, conventions or big events go from place like east side, so east coast, to the west coast, to the Midwest. They kind of move around. And in the Super Bowl's case, they know about 5 years in advance where they're going. So they're planning that far out.
Great. So we talked about the pitch process, but what is the finance side of this? How does it kind of work? And who, you kind of touched on who starts paying for it, but who else ends up paying for when these events come to town?
Well, meetings and events is $1 trillion industry. $1 trillion industry. It's big, big business. And depending on the events, depending on the infrastructure a city has, like for example, Los Angeles for the 2028 Olympics. They already have the infrastructure from the previous Olympics they hosted. So they're not investing a lot of money. There's other destinations that are going to have to put in a lot more money to host something like that. And the question is, does the community want to do that? Because it's a big investment. And what are they going to do after that investment, after the event's taking place? What is that infrastructure going to do? And a lot of communities struggle with that.
I just want to underscore that. My husband is Brazilian, and the World Cup was played in Brazil a couple of years ago. And they built new stadiums in every town that they had an event in, and they wanted to move it around so that they could share the wealth of it. But those stadiums today sit empty. You compare that, juxtapose it to an event that happened a long time ago, which was the World's Fair, where cities competed to have the World Fair, and they left monuments that even today we still recognize. There's events in Las Vegas when you talk about meeting in industries. There's a couple of industries, medical, technology, that there's only certain places in the United States that they can gather because of the rooms, and Las Vegas is one of them. So if you're going to suddenly host the tech industry, you need every one of them is going to have 4 gadgets minimum. So your bandwidth has to be big. You know, it's going to depend on what kind of group that you're bringing in is where you're going to make some of your investment. And I think it's important what Robert said. It's not all hotel tax. At this point, they're pulling into the city coffers for police and security and for other things. And so it is important that the residents are on board with whatever activity you're having.
I'm glad you kind of touched on the residents, because that's my next leading point. It's not, this kind of tourism and events aren't always appreciated by the residents and locals who live there. Have you seen some effective ways that cities, hotels, even event venues have kind of helped ease locals' concerns with these events?
I would honestly say probably, especially now with Airbnb and VRBO and stuff like that, people actually leave the city, and then that's how they make their money. So they're like, okay, I'm going to pay my mortgage this year, and pretty much just put their house up. But I'd say for the most part, especially if, like I know in the city of Houston, I can only speak on the city of Houston, I feel like most Houstonians embrace it. They're excited to have the people here. They're excited with the events. But I honestly think, and I'm sure you see it in Galveston too, when some of the events like Mardi Gras and stuff, the locals probably leave. They're just gone. They're just like, okay, it's great for the city, let's bring in the money, but I'm out of here.
I would just say what Kelly said earlier. I mean, transportation and getting people in and out of that venue, very, very important. And then obviously security, which many years ago wasn't part of the plan, if you will, but it's certainly a big part of the plan these days because of what's going on.
Some of the things, we didn't host mega events in Galveston, and I guess it's all relative, right? If you live in a community of 50,000 people, which is what Galveston is, when you get 250,000 motorcycle riders on a weekend for Motorcycle Rally, people would consider that a mega event without having to define it in such an academic way. Some of the things they do is they require the promoter to start running ads in the paper ahead of time. They share the parade route and what places are going to be closed, because there's nothing like having city council called all morning on a Sunday morning because people can't get to church. Afterwards, the city mayor will usually do a debrief and say, hey, this is the impact that we had, so that people feel like they got value for it. And that's not something I would say that you do periodically. I would say if you're going to be in the tourism business and you're managing a large-scale facility or you're managing a destination, you're constantly having to talk to people about what the value of tourism is in your community.
Great. So if these events are causing the locals to want to move away from the city during that time, how does a city justify like continuing to host an event like this? And yeah, we'll start there first.
I think definitely bringing the publicity for the city. I mean, it's kind of exciting. I mean, when we have World Cups and when we have, like, I mean, all the cities are rage right now with FIFA. I mean, everyone's preparing for it. And I think even if you're not in the event world or not in hospitality, it's still kind of nice to say, hey, our city's getting this big event. So even if they're not 100% embracing it, I think they're still that Houston proud.
And I would say they're fun. I mean, the energy in that time when you're there, I've been at 2 Super Bowl events, I've been at 2 or 3 NCAA Final Four events. They're just a lot of fun. And so just to be able to take a moment and enjoy it as a community, the FIFA will be special. In 2026, it's going to be very unique. It's going to be scattered across our country, Canada, Mexico, and other places. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the championship in New York City, try to find a room in New York City during that moment. And the rooms are going to be going for a lot of thousands and thousands of dollars.
So, with a lot of these events, a big current trend in events is sustainability. What is the impact your event is making on the environment? So, how does this affect the choice of who hosts these events? We're seeing increasing demands of people wanting to know, like, exactly what you are doing to better the environment with these events.
I'm happy to take that one. And this is any size event. The first thing when somebody comes into the city of Galveston to say that they want to do an event, we want to know how many people they think they're going to have, and they have to pay for the security. And then per 100 people, we're telling them how many facilities for porta cans they have to have, trash cans they have to have. And then we've got brigades in the mornings that go back through the area with street sweepers, because the plastic beads in Galveston are just painful sometimes to see in Mardi Gras, and all those drains go out to the ocean. When you're in a more traditional facility, the plastic cups, the plastic bottles, anything that you can set up for recycling, the more that you can encourage people riding together to the event, so we don't have single rides, and you can facilitate group riding. And then a lot of places now give back. Just like Brad and Claudia and their business and what they've made, if they come into a community and they're going to take over the community, you'll see lots of times a portion of their revenues are going to go back to some kind of event.
Or they'll do a special construction event or something in the community prior to the meeting actually taking place and giving back to the community. Improvements.
Great. So, yes, everybody loves the mega event itself, but it's not always just about the mega event, like just the Olympics. There's always something on the side, always happening to help the city, help hotels, help restaurants also generate revenue. So what does it take for the smaller events to end up on the big schedule sent out by the event?
Well, I mean, there's story after story about events. I'm South by Southwest. It started as a small event 38 years ago. It started with 700 people attending the event, and now 280,000 people attend this event. And so they grow organically. They really are events that the community started, but people heard about them, and they started to come. And all of a sudden, you have this enormous event that no one ever saw coming, but has been extraordinarily successful for so often. And there's other examples like that across the country. Just these amazing community efforts that put together that became international events. And South by Southwest is the best example I know.
And to build on that, then people began to create product for it too. And they were probably not as organized at the beginning as they are at now. To get into some of the other events, you have to pay to play. And I would suspect at South by Southwest, if I wanted to have their logo on a t-shirt or a hat, I probably have to pay to play. Or if I want to host a South by Southwest official party. And I suspect when you were with some of the sports games, you all had to pay to play.
Oh yeah, I mean everything, I mean when the NCAA comes to town, they own your hotel basically, and they tell you exactly who you're going to get, what time, you know, where they're going to be and all that good stuff. And so it's just part of knowing that if your community is going to have this event, that you are going to need to give your hotel to the organization, and they're going to do what they decide to do with it. So.
And usually that's happening through coordination, right? Your hotel association or the local city.
It's typically through the DMO. The DMO will work with the organizers, and they will share with you, with everybody, what you're going to do and who you're going to get at your hotel for that event.
I was in the hotel industry when the first Super Bowl came, and I remember we got our parties very last minute, and I am not a last minute person. So I vowed that I would not be in the event industry or doing events when the next Super Bowl came, and I wasn't. I was teaching, so I was like, I had nothing to do with it. I was like, good luck, Houston. I did it once. I'm not doing it again. So.
That's great. So, what are some of the key elements that tend to go overlooked? I know we mentioned safety and security and even transportation, but what else can we as like future hospitality leaders kind of take into consideration if this kind of event was in the city that we work in?
One of the things I didn't realize, and I actually learned this about 5 years ago, and I can't remember how I did, I think it was from a NACE speaker. I didn't realize you could coordinate with like the people that do the lights and stuff, the traffic, that you can actually coordinate with, like you were talking about the egress, that you can call them and the city can coordinate lights and stuff, like to have, you know, one-way streets turn into like all this stuff. And I learned that about 5 years ago. When I was in the industry, I didn't know that. I was like, what, all you have to do is call the city and the city will work with you. So that's kind of a little nugget that I did.
They've got that figured out already, because they understand that once that event breaks, that they've got to get the people out of there. And so that's, for San Antonio at least, that was pretty typical that they have planned for that already.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of people get caught up in receiving the visitor and what it's going to bring to you, but at the same time, we're putting our best face forward to entertain, and so it's important that we create authenticity in the events, that we point to the things that are unique in our community, that we try to get people to stay before and after the event, so it's not that mob that they're experiencing, but some of the more relative experiences that we're going to potentially want to make them come back as a visitor when we're not hosting something large. And so I think people get caught up in what the event is as opposed to just also using that opportunity to create an image about your business and the destination as a whole.
And I was going to add to that, communication. I mean, in 2025, we have so many ways of communicating to our customers, giving them the information well in advance, letting them plan what exactly they're going to get into and see when they arrive, and be able to anticipate some issues maybe before they actually get into them. So communication has changed dramatically over the last 10 years. It's a science, and the organizations like the Super Bowls and the NCAAs, they do it extremely well.
Awesome. So, we know that these events don't happen as often as like a typical yearly convention. What events, I know you mentioned the IPW, what events can we, as future hospitality leaders, count on for like regular, consistent revenue boosts that still give us the same return on investment that we might see with a mega event?
I'm happy to pitch that. So we do a lot of pitching to industry, so you want to go after associations. Every industry in the world has an association, it seems like. A lot of them are based out of Austin, so you'll have the Teachers Association, the Superintendents Association, and as an association, their revenue model is to have a successful event. So if they have people come to their event and pay their registration fees and they make their room blocks, they as an association are probably making the money that they needed for their budget for the year. So they're great partners to have, and especially if they can bring sponsors with them that help to offset some of those costs. The other ones are sports. We love cheerleaders in Galveston. Boy, we give them $25,000 every year to come for their cheerleader events, and you see a trail of glitter down the seawall. But when they come with their families complete. They're not traveling by themselves because it's Galveston and we've got family-friendly amenities. Then they stay. And they like a destination like that as opposed to a big city because they can manage it well. They're together in groups. There's short-term rentals, and so those have really, when I look out into the Convention and Visitors Bureau, have been the staples is sports tourism and business industry. Corporate after COVID really kind of, I don't want to say it dried up, but it changed.
Changed a lot. I mean, it's much smaller. Businesses hasn't come back since COVID, and so we're in San Antonio before COVID. We were downtown running in mid to high 70s, if you will. Right now, occupancies in San Antonio are in the 60s, low 60s, and so it's a much different environment that we're in. Sports teams, we love them. Soccer and volleyball too. Add those two to the list.
Pickleball.
Pickleball's coming on. It's coming on big time.
Okay, I have a couple of rapid fire questions for you guys about mega events. So if you could answer them with a quick yes or no or even maybe. Do mega events do more harm than good?
No, I think they do good. I mean,
Well managed, they do good.
Yeah. Well managed. Okay, I like that.
Great. Okay. We will see a rise in these events over the next couple of years.
Probably not. Probably not. I would say no.
Stay the same.
Stay the same or even get smaller. I mean, these are expensive events to put on, and only a few places can actually do them. And to your point earlier, if you're going to do them, you're going to have to put in a lot of money in the communities, put a lot of money. I'm not sure. I mean, we're dealing with something right now in San Antonio. We're talking about a new arena for our Spurs, et cetera, et cetera. And candidly, there's a lot of people out there right now saying they don't want to put the money into it. There's a big vote in end of October, beginning of November, and we'll see what happens. But if somebody were to tell you right now they know the answer to what's going to happen, no one knows. It's a 50-50 proposition at the moment to put money into an arena for the Spurs, which, if you're from San Antonio, we love our Spurs, and so this is a big decision we're going to make.
And we consider you a tourism town.
Yes. Yeah.
Are mega events changing the way smaller events are run?
I don't think it's the mega events that do it. I think it's just cultural changes, how we get together. I don't know if you all have seen, but I love these dance parties where they all dance with headphones.
The silent disco, yes.
Yes. So I think technology is changing things. I don't think it's the industry so much as outward pressure.
Okay. Mega events were what the hospitality industry needed after COVID.
What was the question? Sorry, what?
Mega events were what the hospitality industry needed after COVID.
Before, during, and after. They need it. Mega events are big business. Like I said, it's $1 trillion industry. And if you can get it, if you can support it and get it, they're well worth having.
Are mega events more memorable than the smaller events? Like brand activations, the fan festivals, things like that happen?
I think it all depends on, it's the eye of the beholder.
Right.
I mean, it really is. I mean, some love the big ones, some love the smaller local ones. Some love the ones that happen every year, like Houston Rodeo, which I mean, those are more hallmark events, but you know.
And then the most money the industry will make is with mega events.
No, it's got to be a combination. It's got to be both.
Great. So, if you could attend any mega event, past or current, which one would it be and why?
Are you gonna make me start?
No, I mean, I'm going to FIFA, and so I've never been to an event, a FIFA event, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm waiting to see how much those tickets are gonna cost to go, but I'm looking forward to that event.
I think I saw somewhere they were starting to put them on sale.
Are they?
There, yeah. So you might be able to find them somewhere. I don't know how much they are. I haven't looked. I don't know, Kelly. Which one? I mean, if anyone invited me, I would go to their suite. I don't know if I'd pay for it. I'd be like, yeah, I'll go. It's like, I'm not gonna say no, but I don't know if I would pay money to go. Does that make me a bad person?
No, that makes you very
So any
reasonable.
of you guys, if y'all get a suite for FIFA, I'm happy to join y'all. Let me know if you need a date.
You know, that's a hard one. This is not a reflection of my politics at all, but I would love to go to one of the conventions, the political conventions now, just to see how they're managed and how they're organizing people. And yeah, I think that would be interesting, but not reflective.
Now, if there was to be a mega event that was to come up because of one of your favorite hobbies, which hobby would you want it to be?
That's easy for me. The garden show. They do that in Disney. They put out all the flowers.
Well, sports events, I mean, whatever sport event they want to throw at us. I mean, we just came out of the Final Four, San Antonio, and having University of Houston in the final game there was phenomenal. That was very special. But there were a number of us Cougs in San Antonio that went to the finals, and we were very proud to be having a chance to be part of that.
Again, if you invite me, I'll go. I'm not going to say no. So there's not one thing out there that I'm missing.
Okay, so to wrap up our panel, who would you say is the biggest winner for a mega events tourism?
I'm going to say the promoter,
Oh, wow.
the person who brought it to town.
Yeah, the organization, whoever is sponsoring that event is going to be the winner because hopefully it'll look great. And their customers are going to be really happy that they're there. And hopefully they're going to be very rich because typically they put on those events. It's going to support their activities throughout the year. And so they need to be successful. If they're not successful, next year there's going to be a new meeting planner, a new organization planner because they're not going to be there.
And I'd say secondary, definitely the city, but hopefully bringing notoriety to the city and future events.
Awesome, so we'd love to open the floor to questions now. Yes. Sorry.
I think I have that. She gave it. We can share.
Hi, it's been a very enlightening panel. Thank you so much. I do have a question, and it kind of piggyback on a comment that Robert you just made. The promoters, obviously, if they are the winners, but you all have heard about the very infamous Fire Festival that completely went on the wayside, and the host country, it's somewhere in Bahamas. So my question, I think, to all of you, number one, if you are on the other end as the host city, hotels and whatever, what will you do to mitigate something like that? And then also the second part of the question is a failed event, right? How do you mitigate a potential failed event? And secondly is what are the recourses that you can take?
Happy to take that
Well,
one.
take that one first. I'll think about that.
If I consider that in the case of the Bahamas, they failed on their side. If a promoter comes to you, he needs to come with a complete package, and then there'll be several meetings over the 4 to 5 or 3 to 2 years that you're planning, where they'll need to bring in their security plan, and the police will take 2 weeks to look at that, or the fire people look at that. Then they'll bring in their vendor plan, and they should have a list of vendors. You know, it was very telling that they were all supposed to camp in the Bahamas, and that a community that is a tourism community that they didn't require them at least to have some room blocks so that they would know how real these folks were in regards to the kind of money that they were going to attract to come down. You know, for something like that also, weather can also be a big impediment for you, and so you need to make sure that they have an alternative plan. And that's their responsibility. They're the promoter. And so all of that should be made transparent to the host destination ahead of time and in meetings, and then it needs to be backed up with contracts that are being made transparent to the city as well. In so much as recourse, I think the benefit, and there's a lot of discussion now about, you know, the role of government, but the role of government is to mitigate unforeseen circumstances sometimes. And so I do think that the Bahamas did the right thing by stepping in and trying to accommodate the people and make sure that the whole experience for them wasn't a loss, because it was going to reflect on them as much as it reflected on the promoter himself. So I think if you get to that unfortunate position where you haven't done your due diligence before, at that point you're trying to save your reputation and then perhaps take them to court after that. But a lot of steps have to happen, and there needs to be a lot of back and forth between the promoter and it's not just the city, it's a committee that several people are on that can feed into where are they making commitments and where are they not making commitments.
And typically there's milestones that they have to hit, and if they're not hitting those milestones, then red flags should be going up, and they should be saying, hey, what's going on here? Or you're not making this commitment happen, blah blah blah. And in San Antonio, you know, these things are 3-5 years out, and typically you're meeting with the group every year at some point or another, maybe twice a year, as it leads up to the meeting. And so as a destination, you're going to know by just the milestones they're hitting and what they're telling you, whether this thing is actually taking place or not. And I agree with you. I don't know where in the Bahamas this was, but they obviously were not on top of this. And ultimately, the planner of this event didn't have the resources to do anything. And why would they do an event that people would be out in tents? That I don't understand completely. So.
Yes, but we're also hoteliers who like to stay in nice hotels.
I know. No question about it.
So I want to just ask a question in the panel, because I, of course, have a unique perspective. Being a meeting planner, I've done 2 Super Bowls, 2 NBA All-Stars, a G7, you know, different South by Southwest, the different types of events in different ways, not necessarily as a promoter, but on the logistics side of it. And question that I get oftentimes from students that say they're interested in this, obviously they ask for this topic, it's how do you prepare yourself to actually work in the field and handle aspects of a mega event. So my question to you as the panel is, can you share with the audience what are some of the things, places and things they should be doing while they're preparing for that? Places like, a lot of people don't think about working in stadiums. If you work in a stadium, you got a greater chance of being involved in a mega event. Or if you work for the Convention and Visitors Bureau and events. But what are some of the ways that they can prepare so that when these opportunities come up to be a part of this, that they can have had some experience to be effective at mega events?
I would definitely say, especially with FIFA coming up, I know in my event class I had a DMC come in, and the DMCs are where it's at. They're the ones that get their hands dirty, and as a student, you guys can go, you don't have to even quit your job right now, because they're going to need a ton of help right around that time. And they pay good. I think they pay like $20, $25 an hour for like a minimum of 4 hours. Your contract work, so save your money because you still have to pay your taxes. They don't take your taxes out. I mean, with Los Angeles coming up in 28, hotel sales, I know you guys haven't had your DMC speaker yet, but he's coming. I can't remember, he's coming in like 3 weeks. So those are really the places to go, and still just getting volunteer work, getting networking, working with the big associations, NACE, MPI, ILEA. They're all going to be a part of that. And I'm sure you guys have seen that too.
Well, that's a great list right there. Volunteerism is where you start when you're a student, and then make yourself visible. You don't just volunteer or go get your paycheck. Go up to the guy who's coordinating, take an opportunity to meet the person in charge. You're calling them DMCs, I'm a little bit behind, but the Convention and Visitors Bureaus will need all kinds of people as well. FIFA, I was looking, and FIFA is, before they're going into communities, are running ads to hire people as they come to different communities to do engagement, and so you can look into that as well. All the stadiums as well. There's a couple consulting companies here in Texas. Huddle Up is one of them, and they work specifically with people who do groups. So there's an industry out there. You just need to do your diligence on it and find it. But all the areas that you mentioned are perfect to start.
I know everything out of that.
Hi, I was wondering, after the Astro World tragedy, did you guys notice any major changes to the mega event tourism? Because, like, I don't know, it's like...
Say security. I mean, just through the tragedies that happened through Las Vegas, Astro World, other area, I mean, they're spending a lot more time and resources on security, a lot more brain power on, I mean, that's the biggest thing, with breakaway barriers to exits to, I mean, that's where it's at. Like, that's their focus point. And then it's having fun. Security, having fun.
Yeah, just controlling the number of people at the event. I mean, not allowing it to get overcrowded. Yeah, ultimately, to her point, you got to have an exit strategy for something when it happens. And I don't think in that event, the Astro World event, that they had too many people in that area.
Yeah, there was a breakaway barrier. There was a lot of things that they learned from that. There was a lot of things that went wrong.
And typically that's the case, right? You don't
Recording
learn
stopped.
until something happens.
Time's up.
I believe we have time for maybe one more question.
Hi, good morning. Okay. Thank you all for your insight. And my question for you is, besides budget, when a city scores a location or a mega event in their location, what is the second most important thing to think about?
I would say securing the room block. You got to have rooms to support that event. So typically it's all part of the, part of the package. When they sign in, the city says we're going to get this event. They've already negotiated a lot of that stuff already. So everybody knows where they're going to stay and be at. And then obviously a lot of the smaller events that go on with these mega events start looking for restaurants and other venues to host their events. And so that starts taking place almost immediately when the announcement's made that we're coming to this destination. All this other stuff starts to happen right away.
They'll actually form a committee, and Robert's been on several of those. So if they win the bid, then they go out into the industry and they want someone from the mayor's office on it. They want the hotel industry on it. And that's really to Brad Dorsey's comment earlier that you got to have a team. No, just because you sign the contract doesn't mean it happens. You got to have a plethora of people around you with a lot of different skills in order to pull it off and make it successful and everybody have a good experience.
Ask the Eric's Club members to go on out to the foyer to be able to receive you for the meet and greet. Thank you to all of our panelists and our student moderator, Victoria, for an excellent panel, and to the engagement committee led by Lily Incorrect and others, Brad, who joined her on that committee to add this component to our lecture series over the last couple of years. Do you find this valuable?
Yes.
Awesome. So we'll be doing it again next fall. And we thank you all again for your time and attention and for being here, both the ones that were in the room and also those on Zoom. And again, go Cougs. We'll see you out in the foyer for the meeting.